Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the next video in the mock interview series with UiPath Aspirant. In case you are looking to the channel for the first time and you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the latest updates. In the mock interview series with UiPath Aspirant, I am taking mock interviews for the candidate. Please note this is not for any company or any of the job opportunity. This is just a mock interview where I am evaluating the knowledge of the candidate based on his or her resume. The format of the mock interview is simple. I receive the resume, I take the interview, I ask the question, and at the end I give the candidate feedback, which is what are the topics which he or she need to restudy, which are the questions which they have answered incorrectly, and some study material and some references. Prior to this video, we already have covered 11 mock interviews on this series, which is for different experience and different skill set. In case if you do not fall in this bracket, you can always watch this complete playlist and find the relevant mock interview as per your expertise. This mock interview is absolutely free of cost. In case you also want to attempt the same, all you have to do is just drop me your resume on my email ID, which is mentioned in the description. Regarding your confidential details such as your name, your company information, everything remains confidential, so you no need to worry about any of this, right? So if that sounds something interesting, feel free to drop me a note on my email ID. Today I have got Siddharth. Siddharth is having experience of 0 to 2 years. He is a UI ARD certified and he wanted to have a mock interview. So let's get started with the mock interview. Okay, so hi Siddharth, I have received your resume for the mock interview. Okay, the format of the mock interview would be simple. I am going to ask you a question based on your resume. You are going to answer me, and at the end, I am going to provide you the answers to the question whichever you have answered incorrectly. And also, I am going to tell you that what are the topics and the areas which you need to improve upon. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So why don't we start by having a quick introduction about yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Siddharth. So I'm a UiPath certified advanced software developer with around 2 years of experience involved in design, testing, development, around more than 10 plus bots in 2 plus projects, particularly in healthcare domain.
Okay, so you have an experience of 2+ years and you have done 10 plus projects. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
when you say that you are advanced certified, it is the UiARD certification which you have done, the paid one.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, fine, super. And these 10 projects, I want you to talk me through any one of the project which you are comfortable talking about. Okay. You don't have to mention me the client or any application or the sensitive information. Just talk me through the problem statement, what
Okay.
the automation was doing, what was your role in it, and what was the benefit which you got from the automation. Anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So the most complicated project which I have done is pair posting payment bot.
Mm-hmm,
So the requirement is they have a payment posting process across various providers, right?
mm-hmm,
So the process is simple. So we have the multiple inputs. Each transaction has one unique value as check number. Okay. So
mm-hmm,
for every check number, we have to log into the recording account to the portal,
mm-hmm,
and we have to search with that particular check number. If the check number is available in search result, in the check number is available, we have to navigate through that,
mm-hmm.
and we have to check if there any already payment batches created for that particular check number. If it's already
Okay.
created, we have to look at the remaining amount. If
Mm-hmm,
the remaining amount is more than zero, we have to continue with the payment posting.
mm-hmm,
Else, we can go to the next transaction. The batch itself is not created. We
mm.
have to create the batch, and then we have to move to the payment posting process.
Okay.
In the payment posting process, we have multiple amounts, multiple various values.
Mm.
So based on that, we have certain rules based on the complex of the combination of the values and the codes, we have certain rules. So according to the rules, we have to do the payment posting process. So this was built on dispatcher and performer based automation.
Okay.
So for to download the inventory, we have one portal. So
Hmm.
the dispatcher bot will download the inventory from that portal and upload
Okay.
to the queue.
Okay.
Though and the performer bot will do the payment processing. And this is an attended bot. So the executive have to manually trigger the bot.
Okay. So this is an attended robot. Okay.
Yeah.
Now when you say about the transactions, right? So how many transaction uh, approximately when the executive hit in one run, how many transactions are there?
In an average,
Hmm.
per day, it will get 150 plus cases.
And how much time does it take to complete one request or one transaction?
It based on the amount and the codes available and the patients available in the particular case. So on an average, it will take 5 to 7 minutes per patient. If it's the less patient, it will complete in 3 minutes.
Okay, so take an example of let's say 5 minutes, right? So
Yeah,
on an average, 5 minutes it is taking to cover one transaction. Okay.
yeah,
Now, when you say that you are using a queue-based approach and this is an attended automation as well, right?
yeah,
So, if I understand it correctly, you have a business person who is sitting, who has a portal where he provide this information as an input. That information is
yeah,
loaded into the queue and then the performer is triggering, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now, how would the performer know when to trigger?
Yeah, so once the dispatcher is completed, the mail will send to the executive's mail IDs.
Uh-huh.
Else, if the mail is not configured, the
Hmm.
message box will be pop up. Most of the times, every will on go with the mail
Hmm.
to trigger. If not, the message pop up will come, so the executive will know the inputs have been uploaded to the queue, so they can start the performer.
Okay. And how many executives are there in the company who are using this process?
Two persons using this.
Two persons, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question here. Let's say you have created a queue in Orchestrator, right?
Okay.
That queue is being populated by the items which are from the executive, right?
Yeah.
You have the orchestrator, you have everything. Have you heard of something which is called a queue trigger?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is a queue trigger?
So if new
Hmm,
items
hmm,
uploaded in the queue,
hmm.
that will automatically trigger, the performer will start the
Correct.
process.
So
Yeah.
why can't we simply apply the queue trigger here?
But that will only work in unattended part, I think.
No, you already have the orchestrator, right? And you
Yeah.
already have the queue you with you. And
Yeah.
once the user is clicking on it, it is using these bits, right? So why don't we simply apply a queue trigger? Why do I have to wait for the user to go and then trigger the automation? Any specific reason for that?
No, no, Mukesh, no, there is restrictions. So, to my knowledge, I think the queue trigger only will turn unattended part. If correct me if
Mhm.
I'm wrong.
Okay, so you are
Yeah.
telling that the robot type which you are having are attended robot. Is that the case?
Yeah.
And that is why
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to always go and wait for the user to trigger. Okay.
Yes.
Now, one more question here. When you say that you have to get all these check numbers, right?
Yeah.
From where does the user get these check numbers?
It's from another portal. They download the inventory from one portal.
Hmm,
So
right.
the
So they
perform
manually
yes.
download it,
No, no, no. The dispatcher part will download and upload it to the queue.
right? The dispatcher bot will download and then it will upload it to the queue, right? So
Yeah.
if you see your architecture, you are telling me that you have one robot dispatcher which runs, it downloads the data and keep it in a folder, right? And
Yeah.
sends the email. Then you have one more robot which is again an attended robot which the human triggers to triggers the performer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why two
Yeah,
robots? I can always have a single robot. Let's say I am the user. Okay. Mukesh has to run this process. I go to my UiPath assistant. I trigger the process, right? First it go to the download. First it go to the portal, download the check numbers, and start the performer itself directly. Why do I have to put the data into the orchestrator queues, then wait for the user, right? I can do it in a single process also, right?
yeah, yes.
You understand what I'm trying to ask,
Yeah, I understood, understood.
right? So why I have to wait for the user to run the performer?
Uh, because we can, if we upload in the queue, we can
Mhm.
split the inventory into multiple robots, right?
But you have an attended robot, right?
Yeah,
How would you split? How are you splitting now?
because the two robots will take from the same queue, inventory from the same queue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So okay. So if I understand it correctly, you have a queue. That queue you
Yeah,
have added 100 items, right? You have
yeah,
two robots. Now those two
mm,
robots has to split the work between them. I totally understand.
yeah,
Where
yeah.
in which tab in orchestrator you have configured that these two robots should refer to this queue. In the assets tab, in the settings tab, in the triggers tab, which tab you have
And the
configured?
queue name will be configured in the config sheet.
Okay, so queue name we have given, right? So how would I
Yeah.
teach my two robots that you take the data from this queue? Have you
So,
created a trigger?
no, Mukesh, we have given the queue name in the config. So while it's
Okay.
processing, it takes the queue items from that particular queue. Right?
Mm, okay. And this is an attended robot then,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So do I really need orchestrator?
No,
And
because
do
when
I really need the queues as well?
no, we can directly give the inventory in Excel and can make it as a simple without orchestrated on the queue process.
Right? And can I club dispatcher and performer at a single time? Because there is no need, right? As soon as the
Yeah,
items are
yeah,
added to the queue, you need to automatically trigger. So there
yeah,
is
yeah,
no dependency of the queue, right?
yeah.
So why
Because
you have created this? Uh,
earlier it was planned to run as unattended bot. So
mhm.
due to the cost and all those things, it will convert to attended bot.
Okay. So
Yeah,
I have one more question here. When your portal is working, you are saying that you are login, right? Where do you get this
yeah.
credential from? Login credential.
From assets,
What type of asset is this?
credential assets.
And what is the output of credential asset? When you read, what do you
Credential.
get as an output?
We will get the username as string and the password as secure string.
Okay. And then you go to the payment batch and you get all those details. Okay.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
you have done this project and you have already given it to the client. Okay. Now let's say
yeah,
there is an enhancement which has come to the project. Okay. The business say that there are some rules, right, based on which you are getting and creating some checks and all these details, right? So business says
yeah.
that now I want to change the rules. There is some manipulation in the rules. As a developer, you would change the rules in your code, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What would be the next step you would do so that your client or the two business people get the latest changes? What are the next step you will do once you complete the development in your UiPath Studio?
So again, I will test with some sample data so to make
Uh-huh.
sure that all the new requirement is already all covered in the code,
Mm-hmm.
and we will move to the once again in UAT and will confirm that all the new requirements are covered.
Hmm. Okay, and then
Then we'll be put to the live. Then we will push it to the live.
hmm.
So to hypercar for 1 or 2 weeks.
Hmm.
Then it will be on live.
Okay, fine. So I have one question here. As an input, okay, to start your process, what does the business user has to do? Do he need to provide any input to the process?
No, it's already pre-configured. Only the date range we have to give. So
Okay.
it's already pre-configured. It's
So the
also in
date
config
range.
sheet. Yeah, the date range also in config sheets. If they want to change the date range, they can change in the config sheet also.
Okay. So let's say by mistake, somebody put a date of 2018.
Okay.
What happens to the automation?
So the portal won't give any results, right? They say they didn't have any entry or no such results.
Mm-hmm.
So the bot will capture that result and
Mm-hmm.
while giving the mail, it will say whatever the exception it occur or whatever the handle exception,
Mm.
it will give it in the mail to the users.
And what kind of exception it would be?
It could be if it's handled, it will be business exception according to their business rules.
Mm.
So if it's
Mm.
any unhandled or any system exception, it will be any system exception.
Okay. And how do I generate a business exception in UiPath?
No, we have to create, right? We have this around the sequence with the try catch, and in
Mm-hmm.
catch
Mm-hmm.
we will create a business exception and we will give the details according to our needs.
Are you sure? How would
Yes.
how would the robot know? So okay, there can be n number of business exceptions, right? Password can be
Yeah.
incorrect, the file folder
Yeah.
is incorrect, the date is not proper, right? How in the
Yeah.
catch section UiPath will decide whether I have to throw the password not correct exception or I have to throw the file not found exception, right? I need to write, right, as a developer, which activity
Yeah.
I use to throw or I would say generate the business exception.
Yeah. So assume that you have in the
Hmm.
particular sequence you have various conditions,
Hmm.
right? In the login or in search while searching.
Okay.
So there itself you can so assume that there is any element coming after the incorrect login.
Mm-hmm.
So after that you can give any throw activity and
Mm-hmm.
give any some certain details on that. So in the cache section, while it's cache from
Mm-hmm.
that throw activity, it will know what exception it's got from there.
Okay. So I am just going through your resume and you have mentioned that you have created an credential automation where you have updated the bulk credential,
Yeah,
right? What is that bulk credential you have updated?
that means so for some particular
Hmm.
projects in the content automation, we use the credential instead of others. We
Hmm.
use Windows Credentials Manager, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So on that, assume that if they had any 50 plus providers, the
Hmm.
association need to manually enter the username and the password every time.
Hmm.
So as if any new users also comes or if the environment is going to change any new
Hmm. Hmm.
system,
Hmm.
they have to again give the credentials in manually.
Hmm.
So I have automated that's in simple process to reduce their time.
Okay. And this is just a for each loop and create asset, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. So talking about your previous automation, right? You have,
yeah.
let's say, two business users, business user one and business user two, right?
Okay,
Both of them has separate data items, right? Let's say Mukesh is having 1 to 10 and there is one more guy whose name is let's say Rahul. He is having 10 to 20 different items, right? When I triggered the
okay,
process, I have 1 to 10, and when you triggered the process, you have 10 to 20, right?
okay,
Now when you run the automation, let's say both of us trigger the performer at the same time.
okay.
It can happen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now your queue has item from 1 to 20.
Okay,
How do you make sure that I get only the result of 1 to 10 and you or the Rahul only get the result of 10 to 20?
as I said, I think we have
Hmm?
some options in the queue properties panel uh, to mark this particular transactions belongs to this group like this.
Group? Are you sure we have something called groups?
Not group.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure about what
Hmm.
property it is.
Okay, next question here. When the human is triggering the automation, right? There is
Yeah.
a fair enough chances that both of us put the same amount of data into the queue. So Let's say Mukesh has already uploaded the check number 12345, and when you run the automation, you also add 12345 to the queue.
Okay.
Duplicate items, right? Duplicate check
Yeah, yeah.
numbers. How this is handled?
I think UiPath itself, it won't, orchestrate itself, it won't upload the same duplicate items while we're using the add queue items.
No, it will add, right? How would orchestrator know that whether it is duplicate or not? So let's say you added a check number of 1, okay? And I
Okay.
added a check number of 1 followed by a space. Both are different,
Yeah,
but ideally
yeah,
both are
yeah.
check numbers,
Understood.
right? How
Yeah,
would orchestrator know?
yeah, understood. So on that case, to upload the inventory, we should give to the only one user.
Okay, I have a last question here on this project thing. Okay, let's say I give you a full privilege that now you have to build this automation. We have everything in place. We have orchestrator, we have machines, we have triggers, we have a lot of money, and we don't have any costing constraints. You can design it as per the best practice, right? What are the
Okay.
changes you are going to do in this automation, whatever you have told me? What would be the correct approach if you have to do it?
So if we have all the resources
Hmm.
with that, we
Hmm.
can build it as an unattended bot.
Okay.
So that we can schedule a bot, the dispatcher bot at particular time when we will get the correct inventory at particular time.
Hmm.
So once the dispatcher bot is uploaded all the queues, then it will manually we can schedule the performer bot also
Hmm.
at the particular time,
Hmm.
so that it will fully automatic, no need any human intervention to trigger the bot.
Okay, okay, thanks. Okay, so I have some couple of questions on a resume. I can see that you have mentioned that you have done a overall saving of 15 FTE, right?
Yeah.
What is this 15 FTE?
So for each and every bot, we have some benefit savings, right?
Hmm. What
As
does
in the, so
FTE
the
FTE stands for?
thing it's full time. Sorry,
Employee? Full-time employees, right? So that is the correct full-time
not.
employees. No?
I'm not sure. I forgot.
No problem. Okay. So again, if I furthermore drill down your this resume, you mentioned that you have been involved in creating of run books, right? What
Yeah,
exactly is
yeah.
the run book?
So Runbook is the guide to the
Hmm.
users who are going to run the bot.
Uh-huh.
So it will have the what are the do's, don'ts, and what are the simple exceptions they can handle
Okay.
by them itself.
Uh-huh.
So those details we will have.
Okay. Fine. So, that is good. So run book, we are going to share it to the developers. Okay. Now some question on UiPath side. Okay. Can you tell me the difference between a modern and a classic selector? Have you heard
The
of it?
classic, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So the classic selector will have the simple selector. So it will have the top level to the particular end
Hmm.
node of that particular element.
Hmm.
So in the modern selector, we will itself it create a if need a fuzzy or
Huh.
an image. So
Okay.
it will automatically create that which type is the best for that particular element. It will automatically create the
Hmm.
that type of selector while we indicating that element.
Perfect. Fine. So these were the questions from my side, Siddharth. Okay.
Yeah,
So let's jump to the feedback quickly. Okay. So then I'll give
yeah.
you a chance to ask your queries. Okay. So first of all, your interview was overall good. There are something which you need to work upon. So first, let's talk about the things which you have answered me correctly. Your project explanation was good. Okay. I was able to understand what your project was doing. Assets you have given me correctly. Uh, this modern folder is classic folder. You have answered me exactly correctly. This all the technical questions are good. But one thing which I do not uh, find good, or I would say one thing which you need to improve is your project architecture. Okay.
Okay.
I understand that you might not have designed this project and everything, but you have developed this project, right? So you should be
Yeah.
knowing that why we are using this approach, why we are not using this approach, right? And for the business exception, right? We simply use an throw activity to generate a business exception, right? So overall
Yeah.
architecture, I think you need to again go ask your seniors in the company, right? Why we are using this approach, right? Why we have splitted the process into two automation? Why can't we simply create a single automation? What happens in the queue, right? What happens if duplicate items are getting added to the queue, right?
Yeah.
And you are using a portal to log in, right? So both the users are using the same credential to log in. Chances are there it might have any. So I didn't ask you more questions on these details, but it can have more and more questions, right? That
Yeah.
because
Sure.
your architecture is complex, so it generates more questions. So two things here. First thing, go back and understand your complete architecture of the process, right? That why it is built in such a manner. The second thing is uh, try to optimize it if possible, right? And definitely you should have some explanation that why it is built like that. In your resume, whatever you mention, right? You should know at least the full form of the acronyms, whatever you mention in the resume, right? Such as
Yeah.
FTE,
Sure.
runbook, and all those bits, right?
Yeah.
Talking about your resume, I see that your resume do not have any information about your any of the project. Okay, it's just say very small bit about a personal project, and there is one project which only mentioned 2 or 3 lines,
Yeah.
right? So I think you need to work more on the resume because you say that you have done 10 plus projects, right? And it only says 2 lines that I have done this project in Dispatcher Perform RE framework. I have developed this project for validation of portal, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
chances are there that if I am looking this resume and I have 10 more resumes, right? I might not shortlist your resume because nowhere it is mentioned that you have done so much of good work, correct? So
Yeah.
put more
Understood.
details on the resume, at least the technical part of it. Put more details on the resume. Okay. The next bit is duplicate thing, right? How do you stop duplicate adding to the queue? Automatically, UiPath queue does not do that, right? The queue has a property which is called unique reference. If you set the unique reference to yes, then only it will not allow to add duplicate. Otherwise, you can add duplicates, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So have heard of this previously,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So what is the thing which you remember, which you learn from this is that you need to go back to your automation or the project and see how they have configured it, right? In the orchestrator, in the activities, what all properties are set up, right? Because your automation is a bit of complex and you might get more and more questions on this. Okay. Apart from this, your overall, as per your 2 years experience, guys, you are having a good enough knowledge and you have already done the UI ARD certificate, so you're good. Okay. Now I'll give this to you for any questions which you have.
Yeah. So, what are the other skills do you think the RP developer should have other than the automation tool knowledge? Other.
Okay, so you can start looking at VBA, okay,
Okay.
which is when you do the Excel automation, right? Not every time you will have activities to do. So VBA, you can start working on LinkU, okay,
Okay.
and start learning VB.NET, Visual Basic.NET. These three skills additionally you can start, and whenever you have time, start learning database also. The concept
Okay.
of databases would be used the same in the data table activities as well, right? So if you get data table automation, you can start learning databases, start learning VB.NET, LinkU, and VBA for Excel automation, right? This will definitely help you ongoing in your automation journey.
Okay, Mukesh. Sure. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. No, Mukesh. That's it.
Okay. So how was your overall feedback? Was it good? Was it helpful?
Yeah, it's really helpful. I thought I know very about my project, but right now I
Huh?
want right now I have come to know that I don't know how particularly the architecture of about my project, so I need to improve on those bits.
Right.
And
Right.
overall, it was very good.
Okay. Perfect then.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we can disconnect. And if you have any more questions, you can always ask me over the WhatsApp. Okay.
Sure, Mukesh. Thanks
Okay.
for your time.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a good day.
Bye, Mukesh.
Bye.
Okay, so with this, I would like to wrap this mock interview here. I hope you found this mock interview insightful and you were able to get some of the interview question. If that is the case, you like this video, please let me know in the comments. If any of you have any of the feedback, positive, negative, just let me know. For similar mock interview or any other conversation, all you have to do is just drop me a note on my email ID. With this, I would like to wrap this video here. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel and happy automation.